Okay, we're back here with another video. Got a couple of requests for guys wanting to know how to use the trench footing assembly. And just so happens we got a job sent to us here that we got to do a takeoff on anyway that does have a trench footing all the way around it here. So um, basically the entire perimeter here is all trench footing. Gonna have some thickened slab in the interior there. So I thought this would be a good one to use. I got the drawings loaded up. I've checked out the general idea of what we got going here, so we'll just drag in some folders. So there's the job folder, just drag that in, hit OK, and in this case I'm not going to use location folder um, because it's all one job. I'm not going to be splitting it up into locations, so I'm just going to take the foundation zone folder and just drag it straight over. And in this case, we're going to do footings because we don't have any poured walls. So we'll hit OK there, and let's go to group folder and let's grab our trench footings. And we'll hit OK there. Okay, so we got our folders in there, and we're good to go here. So, okay, let's see. We got the trench footing assembly there. What you guys have should look pretty much like that. I don't think I changed much on this in quite some time. That there, obviously it's going to calculate the excavation for the trenching. The rebar, I just have the continuous bar and then some stirrups in there. But you can take the stirrups out, and if you just have a straight vertical bar, we could swap those out if we need to. But I leave these in here because they're pretty common for what we do around here. The rigid insulation, you're not always going to have that. I have it in here because I use it almost all the time on them. If you don't need it, just delete it. And there's our concrete there. So pretty straightforward, but we'll show you how we use it and give you a general idea of it anyway. So I'm going to take that trench footing assembly, drop it right in the trench footing group folder. And we might be just a tad slow here. I got quite a few things running and uploading a couple videos right here at the same time, so okay. We're going to be on the perimeter is mainly going to be 2 foot wide and 3.5 foot deep. So I'm going to do that and do the width of the footing. Do it whatever the concrete is. Don't add to this measurement for the insulation if you're using it. That will be picked up in addition, and the excavation will add on for that if it's in there. If it's not in there, it will not add on for it. So the width just needs to be whatever the actual concrete width is designed to be. So again, up here you can rename it. Around here, a lot of times they call these grade beams. You could type something in there if you like. Line side. I think I've went over in a few videos why I use the center. You have a lot more options for things down the road, and get a more accurate count and quantity. Takeoff unit. We all know what that is there. So looks like we're good here. I always start in the top left if I can. Just how I've always done it, I guess. So you can really start anywhere. Doesn't really matter, but okay. So 9 foot or 9 3/4. Looks looks like we're going to be 9 3/4 off the grid line everywhere, so that'll work out. So we'll just digitize around here, and let's see, 19 and a half, 4 and a half, 29, 7 and a half. Okay, and that's going to be the same. 68. And what do we got here? We got 14, 4, 13, 11 and a half. Okay, we'll stop there. Get the general idea anyway. So you see that we're off just a hair, and this is how I line it up and get square with everything. So that way, later on, I can just use the arrow keys to put things in. I don't have to worry about actually trying to zoom in and draw right to a line or something. So we're 2 foot wide. You know, I started on the outside, so everything's got to go down 1 to get to the center, and everything from there over is going to have to go over 1, I believe. Yep. Yeah, looks like that did it. Okay, so we got our footing in there. Again, let's that number there does look like it's probably accurate. Let's refresh it one time. Okay, so we're off just a touch. That's all right. Okay, so we got a 2 foot by 3/6 trench footing, and what do we got for bar? 3 number 5 top and bottom, number 4 stirrups. Okay, so in this case, instead of doing the on-center spacing, I'm just going to go in and select the 6 because it's a known amount that we need. So there's our number 5s. There's our stirrups, and those are at 48 on center, number 4s, and there's that. If you leave it the way it is, if you don't change the width and the height, it's going to take, in this case, the 2 foot wide. It's going to subtract concrete cover on each side, and that's how we get the 1'8". Our concrete cover set at 2 inches. The height is the same way. You're going to have the depth minus the concrete cover on top and bottom, and that's how that's set. The overlap is where the stirrup meets from where it began to where it ends, and the overlap there to tie the end together. So you can change that number. 8 is probably, you know, the most it would ever be in a situation where you have just a stirrup without an extended end on it. So, but I just leave it at 8 just to be on the safe side, unless I actually have the detailed drawing of it. So so we're good there. You could also, if you don't have stirrups, if you just have vertical bars in that footing, you can come down here to your rebar folder and your linear rebar items, and you could really the vertical dowel and the upright are the same thing, just with a different name. A vertical dowel, I guess, is what I refer to as dowels coming out of the top of most likely a cast in place wall for masonry, I guess, to tie onto, whereas the uprights extend you know, from the footing to the top of the wall. If you're doing a cast in place wall, they're actually in the wall itself. But I use them same uprights for doing a you know, if I just had, you know, a single mat of bar in there, not stirrups. So but you can drop those in if you need it. Any other parts, and actually I think we need hook ties in here too, I believe, on the majority of it anyway. E5, C3. Yeah, 3 foot on number 5, 2x2 at 3 on center. Looks like it's pretty standard on all of them here. Yeah, so I'm just going to throw those in now, and I'll check that out later to make sure that's what it's going to end up being everywhere, but it sure looks like it at this point. Number 5 and 36 on center, 2x2, 1 grid. Yep. All right, so we got those, and most of the details here look the same as far as the footing goes. So pretty standard. I don't think I think that's pretty much going to do it for the bar. So all right, we'll close that up. The insulation, you see we do have 2-inch insulation on the inside. And again, on pretty much all of them. So we got that in there, and what that's doing is that if we open this up, see we have some options here on how far down we're going. On a trench footing, I generally just figure on going the entire depth. You can shorten it up, say you only need to go down 2 foot out of the 3 foot deep or something like that. You can certainly change that number. The horizontal, that's how you're setting the sheet. You know, depending on your depth or whatnot, you might set the sheet vertically, and being 3/6 deep, as you see here, so that's what we are, 3/6. We set it horizontal. We got 6 inches left. This here, the use remainder of sheet. Let me expand this and show you. There's our actual material for the insulation. Right now that's not checked. If I check this, that number is going to go down because we're going to be reusing that 6-inch piece, and you know, basically we'd be telling it that we're going to take a bunch of those 6-inch pieces, or 6 of them, I guess, and we're going to stack them up to make another piece. We're not going to waste that 6 inches. So if I click that, you're going to see the numbers here go down. So yeah, that made quite a bit of difference. In this case, a 6-inch piece, I'm not going to count on reusing that. Occasionally you'll see that, you know, they don't want you to use less than a 16-inch piece. Is pretty common that I see. But if it's not spec'd, I guess you could reuse that. It's up to you. So that's what that does there. The floor plan, that just means if we're digitizing it, that we're on the floor plan. If you uncheck that, it would assume that you're on the elevation plan, and it would change the width of the line to equal the size of the sheet that you, or the depth that you have selected based on the size of the sheet. So that's all that's going to do. Line side, that's just an option you have. In this case here, there's no sense doing the center like I do on most of the things, because having the center of that insulation does me no good. And if I do one of the sides, I can snap right to the footing since it lines up right on the inside and just go around it really quick. So those are options there. The insulation itself, just select your material. You're almost always going to want to see it in sheets. I always round it up. The only time I shut this off is if I have quite a bit of it on a job, and if I have 8 or 10 different digitizer items for insulation, I would probably shut the roundup quantity off, because it would be rounding up every single time, and that could add up. That could add up quickly. So that's just a call you got to make. Knowing the job, knowing what you got there. So that's it. Then within here you got the labor for the installation. So and that labor there is going to include, you're going to have to spread the sheets out. In this case, you're going to have to cut 6 inches off each one. So you got to keep in mind. I know that number looks ridiculous, and it's high. There's no doubt, but that's the production rate that was given to us by the people at the RS meetings. That's what's in there. You can definitely change it to whatever you want. Let's see, the concrete, and I use a lot more waste on a trench footing because you're never going to dig it 2 foot wide and 3.5 foot deep everywhere. So you can set your waste at whatever you want, but I believe it's probably set at 15 on what you guys all have, but you can certainly change it to whatever you want there. So that's the excavation. Okay. What the excavation is doing here is I understand it's an area, and we did a linear. It's basically taking however many linear foot of footing we have times the width, and that's what it's telling us. But it's also, since we have the insulation in here in this case, it's also adding for that. And right here, that's where that's picking that up. So we got 204.92 feet. And if you do the math, 204.92 times 2, 2 foot wide is 409.84, but it's telling us we got 443.99. And the reason for that is we got, we have another 204.92 linear foot at 2 inches wide, because we have to excavate for the area that insulation goes in, but we didn't add it to the width of here because we don't want to put concrete in that area. So, and again, there's your excavator. You can pick your bucket size, number of buckets per hour. Right now it's saying 6 there. I don't know, I think that'd be on 200 and some feet. I think that'd be you'd be moving pretty good to get that. So maybe we need to just put this down to around there, maybe. The bucket size, with the capacity there, that's, it's figuring, I'm telling it 40 buckets an hour. Well, it's saying 40 buckets an hour at 5.2 cubic feet is what all these are in. So it's saying 40 buckets at 5.2 cubic feet an hour. It's taking the total excavation, and that's how it's calculating those hours. So, all right, so we got that, and that's pretty much it on the trench footing. There's really not much else to add into it. Unless you have some different rebar parts or something, you can certainly put those in, but those are all going to be the same, just like the hook ties that we did. Yeah, the insulation. I guess we can show you the. Say you got a trench footing, but you have some, maybe a couple of footings like that with it, some column footings or spread footings, whatever you want to call them. We can certainly do that. We take the integrated spread footing, the same one that we put with the continuous footing. Let's take that, drop it right in the trench footing there. And let's say we're 6 by 6. Thickness. I understand that when we did the trench footing, we didn't have a thickness, we had a depth. If we leave that, see if I just click on it, it's saying 3/6 deep. I've used the unused thickness property on the trench footing, and made it the same as the depth. It just saves me from having to put it in there. But you could certainly change the thickness here if you did not have it as thick as the trench footing. You're almost always going to be earth formed. I don't know that you would ever form these up, but these couple options here you guys don't have. I guess symbol rotate. That's going to rotate this 6 by 6 square. If I was at an angle or something, just to make it appear correct with the drawing. That's all that does. And the show dimensions just alters the name here a little bit. If I uncheck that, it's just going to say whatever my takeoff item is. So that's the only difference there. But So we're good there. So let's just say we got one of those there. Since we told it was earth formed, we have no edge forming. And again, a 42-inch edge form obviously is not realistic, but that part is generally used for the continuous footings, but it can be used in here too. And you can just swap this out for the, if you were going to form this up, you'd probably use wall panels, I would assume. You could swap that out. Rebar is the same on it as before. So, but what it's doing is, if you see our number still at the 61.5, well, you're saying, well, we don't have any concrete, and our excavation's the same. We didn't have concrete and excavation for that. The insulation's the same. If we refresh it here, it should pick it up. So, okay, so the concrete did go up. And again, we're basically only adding, 2 foot by 6 foot and 2 foot by 6 foot. So 4 foot by 6 foot is all we're adding, 3/6 deep. So that, we went up about 4 yards. And there's the excavation. It went up 4 yards also. That number's rounded up a little bit there. So the insulation did not move. But essentially the only insulation we added on was, about 2 foot there and 2 foot there, because the piece that's here is the piece that we already had figured for there. So we added on 4 linear foot, and apparently we had already rounded up at least that much, it looks like. So you see here we have a property for the linear feet of rigid insulation added. There's the forming deduction if you were going to form those. And those total up to the top here. Right here, insulation added was 4 feet. So that's correct. There's the area of that footing. And those come back down to here. So that's how it gets that number. It's just the way it has to work to go up, then it has to come all the way back down, because with changing the name in here, you can't just look down one item, because if the name ever changed, it's not there anymore. So you see our linear total here is, that plus the insulation added. So that's how we pick that up. So it did account for those items, so we are covered there. And on these footings, what it's doing, it's just assuming the footings like this, to where you got a little bit hanging over each side. Now I do understand sometimes you're going to have them in the corner here. Now we're going to be adding foam there. We're going to be adding some here, and we're going to add this outside corner. I can't account for those, because if I had, if that footing sits there, those numbers are all a certain number. If that footing sits in here, those numbers are off. There's no way to calculate for that. If you're that concerned about it, you can digitize it. But these footings are all assuming that they're just in a straight section of wall, and just overlap one time with the footing. So I understand we are going to be a little bit off if the footing is like this. Increase your waste percentage maybe. You can certainly digitize it. Whatever you like. And actually we're going to have a little extra concrete sometimes. But then again, if that footing sits all the way in here like this, we're going to have quite a bit extra concrete. If it sits all the way down in here like that, so there's a little bit of a difference there, but it's just an average. So it gets us close on the majority of the things, but not perfect. But so that's how we would add those. The integrated area footing would be the same thing if you have an irregular shaped area. Same exact thing. It's going to calculate the same way. It's going to total everything up. So the only difference there is with the insulation, it's not going to pick that up because it doesn't know how much was on the inside, outside, whatever. So there's a couple ways you could do that. You could digitize all the insulation, or when you drag this in, you could take this insulation part, copy it, paste it as a sub item of this, and just digitize that portion, whatever shape it may be. So, um, but that's pretty much it on the trench footings here. I don't think there's a lot of parts we could put in with them. I don't think we have anything else that really goes with it, I guess. So, yeah, that's about it. So, we got a couple more videos we're going to make here shortly, so we'll be back. But that's it for this one. So let us know if you got any questions, or if you need something else explained a little bit better here. Also let us know about that. So thanks.